This is how the top 1% of apps get you hooked. And guess what? It's not what you think. It's no secret that apps like TikTok and Instagram are designed to manipulate us. We all kind of know that. We joke about it, we blame the algorithm, we even say things like, I lost an hour scrolling. But what we do not talk about is how normal everyday apps that we used are doing the exact same thing. Apps like route planners, productivity tools, mindfulness tools, they're all using the same techniques. They're not trying to steal your attention in a loud way, but they are built on the same psychological principles that you can copy and paste and steal for your app too. So in this video, I want to break down how apps like Perplexity, Apple Fitness, Waze, Headspace, and Discord keep users coming back because they understand how the human brain actually works. Once you understand these patterns, you can start applying them to your own app in a way that feels ethical, intentional, and genuinely useful for the users. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jonathan Maxim. I've worked on growth and launch campaigns for hundreds of apps, including TikTok, and spent the last decade of my life launching and scaling tech startups. So let's start with the hard truth. When most people think about designing great apps, they think about UI, aesthetics, and features. And yes, those things matter for sure. But the most successful products do not win because they are psychological engines. They understand what grabs attention, what triggers action, and what makes someone come back. When your product aligns with the way the human brain is actually wired, with decision making, reward anticipation, and the need for completion, you don't have to push people to download and use your app. All right, so let's start with Perplexity. When you ask a question to Perplexity, something subtle happens. You don't just submit your question and then stare at a blank screen waiting for something to happen. You see movement, dots moving, and you see the system responding and acting in real time. And I know what you're thinking right now, oh, that's just a little visual animation, but it's not. It's an emotional feedback loop. When we take an action, we expect a reaction. When we get that reaction, it closes the loop in our brain and we feel satisfaction. Even waiting feels better when it's designed intentionally. That's why Perplexity turns what could otherwise become a dead moment into a moment of reassurance. You feel like something's happening, you feel like the system's alive, and you're confident you didn't break something. I was listening to an interview between Joe Rogan and the founder of Telegram, and they spent about 30 minutes talking about the animation for when a message is deleted, just the beauty and the simplicity and the magic of when a message just poof and disappears and gently fades away. That is the subtle subconscious reward that Telegram gives to users when they delete a message. And it's incredibly satisfying. This is what a lot of people call the magic when it comes to apps. That little moment of satisfaction. And good apps offer that satisfaction multiple times. Every time you take an action, you get a little moment of satisfaction. Whether that's a smooth and graceful movement or a pop-up or a simple animation that closes the loop in your mind. You want to think about the term personification, making it feel human. Humans like to deal with other humans. They want to deal with somebody that is like them. And so when it responds naturally the way that they feel good about, that reiterates value and trust in the user's mind. And those are the things that drive conversion. So when you go to apply this to your own app, you should focus on making the responsiveness feel intelligent and elegant instead of static and flat and boring. Little animations, little embellishments can go a really long way, especially if the user has to wait. Use motion to communicate that the system is working by adding little subtle animations for a loading screen, for example. Also, add little visual and sound cues that confirm users' actions, even the small ones. Essentially, you want to treat the moments where the user has to wait as part of the experience instead of just empty gaps. When users feel acknowledged, they stay engaged longer. Now let's talk about Apple Fitness in the beginning of their journey. Apple Fitness does something that most apps get wrong. It doesn't overwhelm you or show you dozens of workouts, metrics, and options. It gives you one clear thing to do. Press start and move. This is what's called Hick's Law in action. Basically, the more choices you give somebody, the longer it takes them to make a decision. And frankly, the more it stresses them out and fatigues their mind. And when decision making feels heavy, people avoid it completely. And guess what? Apple knew that. They know that simplicity reduces decision fatigue and creates action. This is why Apple Fitness doesn't try to impress you up front. They just try to get you started. They just focus on getting you moving first. One of Apple's longest standing design principles is that they only allow one course of action for any given thing. For example, you're not going to have a done button in the top right and in the bottom center. It's either going to be top or bottom, not both. People break this design rule all the time, and what happens is, at a subconscious level, users get stressed out, but they don't know why. All they see is two buttons that are calling their attention. Which one should I push? Do they do different things? Am I going to lose the screen? Am I going to be able to come back to it? All of these tracks start running in people's minds. So if you take one thing away from this video, take that one thing principle. Only allow users to take a single action toward a given goal when using your app. Never have multiple buttons that do the same thing. This is why they didn't have a back button for so long, because the home button did that. So to apply this, start your app experience with just one clear action for the user to take. Don't present multiple buttons, don't present multiple options of things that they can do. Just show them one big clear orange, green, or red button or blue, something that sticks out that they know this is the button I should click next. Reduce the number of choices that the user encounters and just guide them toward a single goal to which they can gain momentum. You can reveal some complexity later, but wait until the user has that momentum first and they're already engaged. Okay, now let's talk about Waze. Fast starts don't matter if the action feels difficult for the user, and Waze understands this perfectly. People use Waze with one hand on the wheel, semi-distracted essentially while they're driving, but Waze knows that, and that's why they follow something called Fitts law. The bigger and closer the button is, the faster and easier it is to tap for the user. That's why their most important actions are large, easy to reach, and impossible to miss. But this isn't just some random design preference. It's actually using psychology to influence what the users do first. If you're ever in question of what you should be putting on a single screen, always think about it like this. One big, clear, colorful button showing the user where to go next. Don't have a whole bunch of buttons. Ideally, there's 3 total elements on a given screen: the header, the subheader, and the content. And that should be all. Don't have multiple things going on the same screen. Each screen should serve one purpose. To apply this to your product, design for distracted users, not perfect conditions. Make important actions physically easy to reach. For example, most of us hold our phone with our right hand. So if you want a button that a user can use their app with one hand, obviously you're going to want to put a button in the bottom right so that the thumb can reach it. Use size and placement to show the priority of the elements on screen that you want the users to interact with, and place those critical actions near where the user's thumb sits naturally. Next on the list, we have Headspace, an app that I've used for over a decade and absolutely love. Headspace went above all the other meditation apps out there and created an entire emotional environment. The moment you open it, your pace slows down, your breathing changes, and your attention shifts. And that's very intentional. Color, sound, and animation all work together to guide your emotions while you're using the app. This strategy is called emotional anchoring. Depending on the environment that people will be using your app, you want to match that experience. So if it's a meditation app, of course, you want it to be slow, smooth, and create that effect in the user actually using it. However, if it's a music or a workout app, you want to be easy to navigate and fast so users can get what they want and be out. To apply this, start thinking about how you want users to feel the moment that they open your app. Use visuals to guide behavior, not just decorate the screen. Treat color, motion, typography as psychological tools, and then design the experience to match the emotional state that you want your users to be in. Now let's talk about Discord and social energy. When you open Discord, unlike Headspace, you see a ton of activity. You see online users, active conversations, lit up avatars, and reaction counters. And even if you don't know anyone, you feel like something's happening here. It lowers the barrier to participation. And most importantly, you don't feel alone when you open their app. You feel invited. Those last 2 examples show a perfect contrast of how a different app experience can command a different emotional state from the user. So I ask you, what kind of emotional state are you trying to create for your users? Do you want something that's slow and comforting, or do you want something that's fast and satisfying, or do you want something that's elegant and clean and quick? Think about the experience that you're trying to create for your users, and then design the UI and the interactions around that. So to apply this, focus on showing activity instead of describing it. You can do this by showing the number of active users at the moment, or showing which friends are live on the app right now. Surface real-time engagement whenever possible in the app, and treat the community as a core part of the app experience. Make that momentum visible so that users feel pulled into the action. Moving on to the Zeigarnik effect, and using progress and streaks to motivate users. You see, some apps don't rely on crowds. They rely on unfinished progress. Just think about Duolingo here for a second. What makes you come back and use the app daily? It's the progress bar that reminds you of your streak, and that pulls you in. Streak-based and progress-based apps make users feel like that momentum is already happening, and they're just one step away from continuing it. This is the Zeigarnik effect. We remember unfinished tasks more than we remember finished ones, and we are wired as humans to want closure, so we use the app and finish the task. But when you have a never-ending process, you're literally keeping the brain rushing to close what can't be closed. And You just keep using the app. Another word for this is called open loops. Open loops is a marketing and sales term that we use to basically bait somebody, right? You give them a little taste of what to expect, but then you don't give them the full answer until later on. This works because the human mind is intrigued by mystery. This is why giveaways and contests work so well, the chance factor of winning something big. So when you leave that what's called a variable reward, the chance of getting a certain outcome or getting that closure that the user wants, that creates engagement and it pulls the user in. So to apply this, you're going to want to show progress clearly and consistently throughout the app experience. Keep goals close and achievable and make the next step obvious. Reward completion visually, but avoid overwhelming users with too many progress loops all at once. All these patterns have one thing in common. They do not force user behavior, they guide it. They're built around how people actually think, feel, and make decisions, and gently steer the user toward how to use the app. If you enjoyed this video, check out the one where I break down how Duolingo, Revolut, and Phantom use emotional design to stand out by clicking here. Until next time, go build something great.